Hey everybody, welcome back to Bleeding Cool's weekly recap of Twin Peaks. Today we're going to be taking a look at part 15. There's some fear in letting go. I'm going to make sure I got that quote right, considering some of the heavy stuff from this episode. But first, let me give you my overall takeaway. Generally speaking, we're building towards war. Uh, we got a lot of niceness in the beginning. We got a lot of darkness throughout. It seemed like everybody's consolidating their forces, both good and bad. With the Ed and Nadine and Norma thing, I'm going to touch more into that in detail in a second. What made me a little nervous about that is there's always that whole thing about how when people, get married before going off to war, or write letters to loved ones, that ominous niceness before things get really bad. I couldn't help but take that out of that. But again, it seems like everybody's congregating the masses towards Twin Peaks in a big way, and I can't shake this feeling that things are just going to get kind of ugly by the end of this. Which I didn't realize, by the way, is actually next week. I'm going to touch upon this at the end too. But I didn't realize actually next week is the 2-hour finale, so we're beginning parts 17 and 18. So please make note of that. Check your DVRs too if you haven't made that adjustment too. Okay. Let's go through the episode. Let's grab some of the spare parts from it and see what we have dug out. First, again, the Ed, Nadine, Norma situation. Two quotes that Nadine had. I'm shoveling myself out of my shit. Props to Dr. Jacoby, Dr. Zapp. He may be making a con deal with those golden shovels, but for Nadine, it seems to be working, and it seems like it's going to be working for Ed and Norma also. The other one is true love is giving the other what makes them truly happy, and that's what Nadine finally does. Finally owning up and admitting to it and saying, look, this has been horrible. I've guilted you, Ed, into staying into this relationship. You and Norma should have been together. It's great to see. It really got everybody excited. I know who's watching with me. My only concern at that point was like, okay, great. Ed's happy, so obviously something must happen. So Ed gets to the diner, goes to see Norma, and of course Norma's there to see Walter. So Ed is left at the counter with that glare of death. He makes that joke about the cyanide capsule. That's actually really good. But it turns out, in fact, that Norma is meeting with Walter to basically sell to him and to the company all of her ownership on all of the diners except the one in Twin Peaks. She just wants to get back out. She wants to go to a nice, normal life with, guess of all people, Ed, who she comes up to and puts her hand on his shoulder, and they kiss, and he proposes, and she says yes, and it's fantastic. Wow, I know I just made that noise. Oof, don't know what that was. But it was fantastic. It was awesome. I don't care. That was great. It was really, as a long-time Twin Peaks fan, is two people who just kept getting pulled apart. My hope is this is the beginning of something for them. But again, it's Lynch, so you don't know. Otis Redding, I've been loving you too long. Perfect song. I kept trying to do the live blog and also find the song. I was able to actually send it out towards the end of the live blog, which I was very happy about, because that was definitely worth noting. Definitely worth noting. Doppelkoop, traveling some dark roads, both literally and metaphorically, as you can see. Ends up at the top room above the Atomic Convenience Store, where he gets a chance to actually meet and speak with Philip Jeffries, in the form of, if I saw this correctly, a teapot steaming into an orb of some type. What I found interesting is we're never quite sure what is true or what isn't true, what Phil Jeffries may be telling Doppelkoop. I know he makes reference to not being the one who called him several days before, or not sending somebody out to kill him. I think it's very interesting where we get the reference back to Judy from Fire Walk with Me, and the fact that Jeffries tells Doppelkoop, you've already met Judy. So Doppelkoop is left wondering, what's the importance of Judy? Who is Judy? And Jeffries does this sweet pimp move where he just basically, boom, leaves Doppelkoop outside, high and dry with no answers. I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about who Judy possibly could be. Excuse me. For one thing, I got to say, and this is just a crazy concept, run with it what you will. I haven't really thought it out. It'd be fascinating if it was Annie. And get a little Heather Graham term we weren't expecting. The reason I'm saying this is because just because he's met her before doesn't necessarily mean it had to be he met her during this series, um, as we've established. And again, I still don't have an answer on the whole missing pieces thing. But what I found interesting is we've now got Doppelkoop who's been deposited outside the Atomic Convenience Store. And who does he run into? Richie Horn, who we now get confirmed and established is the son of Audrey. Sorry, and we're going to assume is now also the son of one of the Coops. I am still leaning towards Doppelkoop, but yeah, there is definitely some very strange parentage going on, and I'm wondering how that's necessarily going to play into the whole making things even with the Black Lodge. Very curious to see how that could play out. Steven and Kirsten, have to be honest with you, I'm afraid this is going to tie in much more majorly into the big picture than I'm thinking it is because I haven't really been too interested in the storyline. Honestly, they think the most interesting thing Steven's done probably was during this episode, which is possibly kill himself. I know that's horrible to say. Maybe I'm just concentrating on some of the more main storylines, and I know a lot of these will tie back in. But right now, until I big picture this after it's over, eh. James, it's tough. I mean, that I know they referenced the fact that he had had an accident. It's tough to see James like that and to see him getting beaten up like that. That was really, really, really rough. But it was great seeing Freddie do his walking, talking, One Punch Man imitation because I think it's safe to say he clearly brain damaged those two guys severely. Chantel, when she knocked off the Las Vegas high rise guy and assistant, did not. It's weird. I wasn't surprised, but then in the moment when it happened, I was like, oh, oh. But it makes sense. What has me concerned is the whole thing about when she references, Chantel references about it being one down, one to go. That's not a good sign. James, when he's in the jail cell, I got to be honest with you. I know I put this on the live blog, but I got a reference. I couldn't help but think of when Bobby and Mike in the original series were barking at him. So there was a nice little flashback there. Hutch and Chantel, again, and I think it's important because I think of this every time I see them. They really seem to be characters out of a Tarantino film by way of a Rob Zombie film. There's a I'm going to say a bizarre sweetness to their relationship, a simplicity to their relationship because it's just we need to do ABC, we're going to do ABC. I'm not saying they're nice characters, not by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a sweetness and simplicity to their camaraderie and friendship that literally can be boiled down to how touching it is to get a ketchup packet. And again, I think in the world of David Lynch and in Twin Peaks, any relationship that can function is a workable one, even if it's not always a healthy relationship. Dougie Coop. Janie E. She has a line. It's like all of our dreams are coming true again. These dark, ominous, optimistic quotes that you know are just going to get knocked down. Again, with the prior conversations that have gone on between Chantel and Hutch and Doppelkoop. Again, this doesn't bode well. Again, we're talking a situation where we've got insurance scams, crooked cops, things like that. That's not. Oh, yeah, no. Dougie Coop, interesting. The sound of electricity from the outlet, the reference to coal on the television screen. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we don't have Dougie Coop just basically electrocute himself, but that we actually have maybe our Cooper back. Dale Cooper coming back would be great, again, considering we only have 3 hours left. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that maybe we get some semblance of Dale Cooper back with tonight's episode. I think you'll see me get way more excited about that than I have any right to be as a functioning human being, but I don't care. Anywho, I'm skipping ahead a little bit because there's one subject I want to touch upon last. But Audrey, there's comments that are made like when Charlie references right here on the threshold. There's a point where she attacks Charlie, has him by the throat, and she's like, when she references like I'm meeting a different person. Who are you, Charlie? I can't help again. Is Audrey still in a coma? That's what I'm wondering. Is she still in a coma and this is playing out in her head and it's a matter of her coming out of a coma or not? I don't know. It just doesn't seem, even in Lynch's world, it doesn't seem to be functioning on a normal reality of which everybody else is. So, Yeah, I'm very curious to see where this goes. Very curious, and I don't know why I keep doing this with my hand. I guess it's just to show, I guess, that I have a hand. I don't know. The last part, and I think it would be the most important takeaway from it, is this episode, if nothing else, is done in memory of Catherine E. Coulson, Margaret, the log lady, who had a very sweet and touching interaction with Hawk throughout the series, especially tonight. Um, uh, I not much to say on that. That the interactions were incredibly sweet. The scene in the conference room where Hawk gathers everybody to inform them, it was just heartbreaking. I referenced this before, and I mean it. She was the mystical heart of Twin Peaks. She played such an important role for such a limited capacity to be able to this season, and I think that speaks volumes to her love and commitment to the character, and Lynch's love and commitment to her as an actress and to her role. Um, I end this recap with just a comment from Hawk. Good night, Margaret. Goodbye, Margaret. Okay, folks, join us next week. As I said, we're going to be getting parts 17 and 18 next week, so it's going to be 2 hours, running from 8 to 10. So there'll be no Game of Thrones to have to run up against, so they can go solid 2 hours. So we will be back doing a live blog of the 2 hours next week. We're also going to be doing a live blog, obviously, tonight, starting at 8 o'clock. We're going to be up and running for a little bit at 7 Eastern Time, just to give you a little extras and get you up to speed. But join me around 7:55 Eastern Time. We'll have the website up and everything ready to go by then. And join us, and we'll see where this is all going. Again, this is the penultimate one, folks, before the big 2 hour finale next week. Look forward to having you join me for live blog tonight, and hope you guys enjoy. Take care.